Hey, what's up? Let's go over the puzzles for today. So in this very first one, it's pretty complicated. There's a lot of pieces still on the board. We can see that we each have four pieces, two rooks, so material is pretty even and the board's pretty clogged. The first thing that I noticed was that for black, this rook is actually hanging, but right now it's being blocked by our knight. So interestingly enough, if we moved our knight, they could potentially take our rook, but our rook is defended by our bishop, so it should be fine. That's how I noticed the first move. So if we move our knight, for example, they played b6, we move our knight, and even though they could potentially take, we would take back, and through a series of trades, it seemed like it was even at first. So let me show you. Um, we would be taking with check, right? So that's something for them to look out for. Um, for black, the first thing that I saw was if knight takes, we trade down like this. Oh, actually, hold on. And we'd be down a piece here. Another thing that I was thinking of was if we, let's see, what would black do? If they just trade, we would not trade, because we could take with check. So this is something that I saw. Um, was it something like this? We move back, it would be even material, something along those lines. It would be really even. So next thing I noticed, like, yeah, there's nothing really there if we were to trade down here and take trades here, but if they take our knight, it actually opens up our pawns to be passed. So I was thinking that that came into play, which it does. Let's take a look. What did they do? Because I kind of forgot. Yeah, so they took our knight with theirs. That gives us an opportunity to create a pass pawn. We wouldn't do it right away because they could take our rook and blockade our pass pawn. So here, um, because this rook is defended, we don't have to take this rook immediately. Um, this rook isn't defended, so we choose to take this one. Now, if they trade down, I don't think they would do that, right? Um, if they take, we trade, we be up. So what would they choose to do? Take here, 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 and then we take. Would this be winning? Oh, there's some reason that. Ah, we don't take. We don't take back. Uh we just take with our rook, or we take with our pawn because we're threatening to promote. If they try to protect, then we just be up a piece. They can't protect with their rook because it would just hang because of the pawn. So that's the solution for this one. Um, Going all the way back, it's just thinking about this pawn becoming passed. Um, yeah, they can't take here because their rook is ultimately hanging. So it's all this the play around getting this pawn passed. So that was a good puzzle. Okay, this is the second one. Let's go to analysis. Um, so this one, the first thing I noticed was we just count the pieces. We're actually up a piece here. So the idea here is to equalize the position and not allow counterplay. Um, the idea that I saw was if they're able to take our knight with our with their rook, that would check, and then uh, pawn takes, and then the queen would come in. So somehow we have to keep our queen inside the pawn, inside not inside the pawn, inside this triangle, and try to intercept these lines looking into our knight. Uh, Basically defend the position and be up a piece at the end. So that's what I did here. Um, what they do? They throw in our queen, and with those ideas in mind, the move I found was that here, queen d4, uh, closing this diagonal for the queen, and also the queen is defended by the rook. So this trick wouldn't work anymore because we would just trade queens and uh, win the endgame. So here they played queen check, queen b4 check. The most reactive move that I was thinking about was just pushing the pawn. However, that's pretty bad because they take our bishop and they're coming in with a checkmate threat. And I feel like this still kind of plays depending on where we put our queen. Let me think. Let me see if I remember. Oh yeah. So here I decided to block with queen. I think I was thinking about whether or not to block with the rook or the queen, but ultimately I realized that from calculating, if I block with the queen and they take our bishop, that looks like it's hanging. I could just come in and pin their queen to their king with rook b with rook b8, which is defended by the queen that would be here on d6. So that was um, I didn't really see anything for rook d6, so that's why I ultimately came up with this move. And they just ended up trading queens, so that was the solution here. Going on to the next puzzle, this one was super confusing. There's a lot going on. I'll try my best to break it down. Basically, there's a checkmate threat here, which is defended by their bishop. There's also this idea of moving their checking their king with our knight, and then infiltrating with our rook and our knight somehow. Sorry, let me make this move because it's part of it. So yeah, infiltrating with our rook and our knight here after this check because they can't take, this pawn is pinned, right? Our queen is looking down. So after we check, they move their king, something like this. We would have an attack down here. Now that didn't look really promising because we have black has two defenders on f7. So I feel like it's a little bit preemptive to do that. I thought for a really long time for any other ideas, something like bishop h6, which like it looks annoying, but it doesn't really do anything. There's no threat. Also looked for ideas like here, knight e7, but here that's also like being super defended, and that also takes away our checkmate threat here, right? So ultimately I realized like, okay, maybe the objective here is not actually to mate their king. We actually have even material. If I count it down, um, two, four, six pieces, and then two, four, six on their side as well. So we're not up material here. It doesn't look like we have an obvious mating attack. So I was thinking maybe it's just a like getting some sort of advantage, like winning a piece or positional play, which is super hard to find. One thing that I noticed was, okay, this bishop attacking their knight, it can only be taken back by their queen. So that's like an only move. I was thinking whether or not that came into play. It's an only move because the bishop can't take because of this checkmate threat. So after thinking for like 7, 10 minutes, I just went for it, thinking that that's basically the only play allowed in this position. So I went for it. Bishop takes. It turns out that's the correct move. Queen takes. Now this pawn is a little softer now. Now that the queen's away and no longer defending f7, now it's more susceptible for additional attacks. So this one was also like a guess as well. I played knight knight h6, which is also the correct move. This is a forcing move. And here I had to decide which piece to take f7 with. Um, if I took it with the rook, I realized that they just trade back and it's just a big exchange of pieces. Um, I would push this pawn probably to solidify my knight being there, and it'll be super annoying. The bishop can't come in to try to harass this pawn because the knight just takes. So I thought this was okay with rook takes. Now with knight takes, it's basically the same idea. Um, here and same idea, you can't really take. Um, but now I'm also threatening the rook. So they have to defend or move it away in some aspect. And it's just super more annoying, super annoying. The other way also like it's more trading pieces. So I thought that actually if I'm thinking about playing more like an engine, it actually gives less chances to win because now there's less pieces on the board. Along with that, now the back rank is kind of sparse. Like queen can come in and infiltrate and attack this rook, and this rook now is only defended by the queen, as opposed to the other variation where I take with the knight, I push this. The rooks are still defending each other. There's no chance for their queen to come in and infiltrate and harass, so my queen can actually keep attacking. So with all that in mind, I thought that in order to have a winning advantage, I would keep more pieces on the board and take with the knight, which ended up being the correct move. So yeah, long story short, um, it was basically a distraction tactic, it seemed like, to get the queen away from the defense of the seventh rank and infiltrate with my pieces. Yeah, I think this was the end. What was this was the end of the puzzle? Yeah, I definitely did not go that far. Something like this. All right, this puzzle was pretty confusing. Let's go to analysis. All right, so obviously the only opportunity here to win is to take take their knight and then see how things go. So I took the knight, they took here, and this got super confusing. Um, Basically, I was trying to see like, okay, which one wins? There's only two options, right? Or save the bishop, but that didn't really make sense. If I save the bishop, I would basically be arguing, like for instance, if I take here, I would basically be arguing something like, oh, my bishops can stop these three connected pass pawns, and I would be able to move my king somehow over here, take their pawn, and push this pawn forward and win, which I did not think was very feasible. So With that in mind, that just means which what do I do here? Do I take or do I push? The variation that I saw in my mind was this where if I take and I take here with check, let me show you what I was seeing. I only saw this F2 pushing up here, and then they're threatening to promote. Um, I saw here. Oh no, wait, was that right? Oh no, this doesn't even work. Well, I guess this works. Specifically when king goes to f7 because I could take afterwards, but they don't have to do that. I think I miscalculated because I thought um, I forgot that my pawn was here, and I thought that I could um, come in with check and just take their pawn. But I calculated down one tempo, so that doesn't even work. Uh, what would happen here? Something like, yeah, that wouldn't work. Anyways, yeah, you can see why I got that wrong. But anyways, apparently this doesn't work because they could just let me see. Take here, push. King G7. Yeah, this is a draw for some reason. I had no idea why. Basically, my king is it seems like my king is trapped and they're always pushing to promote. If anything, like I'd be losing and struggling to win because these pawns are just so strong. But anyways, the correct move was to push. Let's turn the analysis because this is like super crazy. I can't calculate this crazy. Um, they take and then they pushed e2, which I didn't even see my calculation. I only saw f2 check, which was you saw the variation that I gave, which was like here check and then here. But the puzzle basically ended here with the check. Um, yeah, I did not calculate this far. I don't know how this is winning. Um, oh yeah, because this pawn's hanging now, the king can come in and just blockade everything, and you're up a queen. So yeah, that was super hard. I did not get that. Yeah. Okay, this is the last puzzle. Go into analysis. Let's turn off the analysis. Okay. So obvious move was check. So it's all about just calculating it down. Um, we're down a piece, so I think we have to mate or somehow get compensation for our lost piece. They're also, are they threatening anything? They're threatening, actually, hold on. I think they have a move. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. This was their move. They're threatening here, so we have to do something. They take, and it's basically mate. If I show you, let me show you. If I do a random move, check here, check. Can't come in because it's blocked here, and then that, is that mate? Is this mate? Nah, it's super annoying. That's pretty bad, obviously. That would not be right for the puzzle. So that means we just have to calculate down the check and see how we can win. So here we give a check, basically only move. If they go here, it's just check, it's just main one. So only move here. Um, I think there's only one other check now. So we give it check. They move here. At this point, I took a pause because I wasn't really sure calculating it down. There is there are a couple checks. I guess like this one doesn't work because obviously we just give away our piece or we trade it down. Actually, it's just giving it away because our pawn is pinned. There's this check, but it's basically a repetition, right? Because we just came from there. So this seemed like the only feasible check. There's a couple things to calculate. Um, Here, I saw here, and that doesn't work like the fork because their bishop's guarding. So that wasn't it. What other check is there? Bit here, and then check. The king is right here, right on e5, but that just allows them to run away here. For example, I'll show you here, here, and then here. Their king just runs, and they're safe. So that wasn't it. This check was right, so I'll give variations based on here, now that we're here. Um, the only other check to give, with that isn't just same material, right, other than this one, is taking their pawn. There's a couple things to calculate. Let's see if we take their pawn, what squares they could go to. Our knight is hanging, but I realized that because our pawn is here, we could utilize that. Coming into uh, queen c3 is actually mate because the king has no squares. It's like a swall dovetail mate, is that what it's called? If they move here, I think we just skewer their king and queen, and they will lose their queen. So, or is there another reason why? I'm not sure. But anyways, I played that. They just went into mate. Um, let's look at the other variation here. Uh, Actually, this would just be mate. So either way, it's just mate in one. So yeah, that was a good puzzle. Okay, that's it for today. See you next time.